when we feel safe enough to come home to ourselves in our bodies, that can allow us to really release some of the things that, when they're piled up inside of us, have a ton of different symptoms.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, the podcast where we celebrate aging with vibrance and we defy the stereotypes of what it means to age. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, a psychotherapist of more than 30 years, here to introduce you to my off-the-mainstream guests who will energize and inspire you. My hope is to create optimism about getting older and help you cultivate zest and joy in this season of your life. And I love to hear feedback from you, my listeners. Please drop me a line at zestfulaging@gmail.com. I read every single comment. And to find out more about this podcast, hop on over to zestfulaging.com. So today I have the pleasure of speaking with Meg Tobin, a mental health counselor and the owner of Breathing Space Psychotherapy. Meg is an expert in mind-body approaches to help regulate the nervous system, something we are all looking to do right now. She uses EFT tapping, brain spotting, ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, and several somatic techniques to cut through the defenses we use to protect ourselves, but that ultimately keep us stuck in the same old patterns. And lately, she's been doing something different. She's been taking groups on international retreats for more intensive healing and adventures. I met Meg about 3 years ago and was really inspired and really taken by her dedication and her sense of humor and her humility around helping people feel better. And she'll tell you some of these stories today as we talk. But she uses these tools that are often outside the traditional therapy box. So I'm really happy to have my friend Meg Tobin on today. Welcome to the show, Meg.
Thank you so much, Nicole. What a beautiful intro. Thank you.
Oh, yay. Good. So I wanted to start off really with the basics, and that is your dedication to using what you will call somatic approaches. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about how a somatic approach might be different than what people usually think of with traditional talk therapy, psychotherapy. What's different?
So my approach, I come through the body. So my approach is that we can talk about things, and it's really good to talk things out. But my belief is that we only can get so far if all we're doing is talking and not bringing our body into it, because our body stores so much from all of the painful and joyful things that we've been through in our lives. And so when we feel safe enough to come home to ourselves in our bodies, that can allow us to really release some of the things that, when they're piled up inside of us, have a ton of different symptoms that I'm sure your listeners are familiar with: anxiety, irritability, depressive symptoms, not wanting to go out of your house, being overwhelmed by, little tasks that we have to do. And when we can get to the body and help the body unload all that it's carried unconsciously, then we really can help people to get some movement in their lives and a feeling of safety and a feeling of not being so weighted down by all of the little things we pick up through our days, or some of the bigger traumas that a lot of us carry.
Mm-hmm. And so do people find you because they know that you to use your words, go through the body, or is that just something that happens when people hire you to be their therapist?
No, I think people seek me out for that, and it's something that I feel really passionately about. It was on a personal note. I worked through a lot of my own personal trauma using somatic therapy, and I feel like I'd still be doing so much of the work now if I didn't have that option. I feel really grateful that I stumbled into it, and so I really love helping people learn that there's nothing wrong with them. Their nervous systems are acting exactly as they should be acting in the face of daily traumas, stressors, bigger traumas and stressors, grief that piles up. This is our body's way of protecting ourselves, of keeping us safe from the weight, from feeling like it's too much and we just have to tap out. And so helping
Mm.
people recognize that there's nothing to be fixed. We don't need to fix ourselves. We just need to get back in touch with ourselves and really listen to our bodies so that our body can do what it needs to do to release. So if we see an animal that's being chased and is in danger, when that danger is over, that animal shakes, that nervous system gets itself back into equilibrium. And we don't give ourselves that opportunity, or we don't even know we need to do that. And so that's a big reminder that I give my clients and myself to
Mm.
really work it out of the body. And it can be there are a lot of very simple exercises that we can do. Shaking is a great one, humming or singing or chanting. Those are really great ones. Jumping up and down. So even if you have a rebounder or bringing yourself up on your
Mm.
toes and slamming down on your heels, like all of those things like are designed to get us back in our bodies and help the nervous system recognize that we are in fact safe now, that we are not living in,
Mm.
that is, if we are in fact safe, right? So there's a whole different
Mhm.
approach I take with people who are in current trauma. But if it's past trauma that we're working on, we really help the body to learn that those days are over, and the body doesn't need to respond as if they're under threat all the time.
Mhm. Sounds incredibly relieving. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious how people describe when they become in touch with their bodies and are seeing that they're holding trauma or stress or distress. What does it feel like for people? What do your clients say?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say, oftentimes after a first session, people report feeling a sense of hope that they haven't before. That this is because I know it's doable. This is healable. We are able to move through this. And so I'm very confident in that. And so people walk away feeling a sense of hope and relief. And then when we
Mm.
get into the work, there is this, sort of, some people are kind of skeptical. But then when they do engage, say, in EFT tapping or in brain spotting, and something really does shift in their physiology, they start feeling tight throated or nauseous or super sweaty palms or whatever symptom they're having, connected to an emotion, and we begin to separate the story from the emotion. That's what all of these tools do, right? We have this narrative that's running through our head. um, I'm not safe around men, or I don't have the skills to make enough money, or I'm not intelligent, right? So all of these narratives that we have going on have emotional associations. And so if we can separate the emotion from the story, it just becomes a story that maybe I choose to believe and maybe I don't, but I'm not drawn
Mm.
into it emotionally anymore. And so people do report a sense of freedom, a sense of, um, their relationships are improving because they're not as reactive and they're not taking things as personally because they don't feel like their nervous system isn't responding as if they're under threat all the time.
Mhm. That sounds exhausting. Hey, hey, Zesties. Well, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one feeling tense and anxious these days. Every day it seems like there's more scary news. Well, I've been a psychotherapist for over 34 years, and I've learned a lot of techniques to help manage anxiety, and I've been using them. But recently, I found something new that I wanted to tell you about. I actually just stumbled upon it at an event for veterans. It's a little breathing device called Calm Ego. And when you're breathing in a way that promotes relaxation, which is basically long exhales, it lights up, and you can add a calming scent if you like. So Calm Ego is a natural, portable, drug-free solution that can be used in moments of upset, anxiety, and stress. And it's effective and pretty unique. And you can use it for both immediate relief and also long-term effectiveness. So I love that you don't have to think about the breathing, you don't have to count, you don't have to imagine a square. You really don't have to do anything. It does all the work for you. I find it to be especially helpful before bedtime, and I'm pretty excited about it. So I'm partnering with Calm Ego to offer you a 25% discount if you use the coupon code ZESTFUL when you're cashing out on the site, which is Calm Ego, CALMIGO.com. And please let me know about your experience. I will be interested to hear. Thanks. And I'm wondering if you're seeing women particularly who now are sort of at an age where they feel actually older, and they're reporting that, okay, I feel like I'm aging, I'm dealing with issues related to being 50 or over. Is that something that you work with people
Yes.
toward? Tell me a little bit about that.
So, I think women in their 50s and over, right? So there's a lot of our productive, I'm not saying we're not productive after life, after this time, but I know personally for me, my kids are self-sufficient at this point. And there are ways that I can frame my life so that I have more space. And I'm finding a lot of women, even in their 60s into retirement time, they're like, whoa, now what? Now I'm still with me and I have no distractions anymore. And so they're taking the time to dive into these long-standing issues, or things are coming to a head in their relationships and they really want to address their piece in it. And I think this is, for a lot of people, it's a novel way. They may have been to, a couples therapist or other therapists over the years, and they're still dealing with this nervous system dysregulation. And I address that with them, right? So it's not that I don't necessarily need to hear all the stories again. And of course, I listen if people want to share that, but it's not critical for the work. We don't need to rehash everything. And I think that's part of what people avoid in going to therapy, that I don't want to talk about it again. I don't want to feel about it again. And so when we're doing some of these more body-centered activities and modalities, the story, we don't need to flesh out the story in the way that talk therapy does. And so I think people find that refreshing as well. But women, are having to redefine relationships. Like we're just changing. Life is different at this age, and we don't have the normal channels, right? I know a lot of my good friends I met through my children. And so now that I don't have that opportunity anymore, I really need to cultivate my relationships differently. And I think that a lot of people are coming to me saying, I don't know what happened in my life. I'm not sure why and it's almost like there's something wrong with me that I don't have the same kind of connections with women that I used to. And it's not that there's something wrong with me. It's that I need to attend to myself so that I feel safer going out in the world. It's not just this like flyby when I'm dropping the kids off and that's how I form a relationship. right? I have to put myself out there now, and that's intimidating and
I
scary. And
see.
so I'm finding that a lot of women are just needing to feel more confident, or we're starting to
Mhm.
lose some capacity, right? Some little memories going, our bodies aren't working the way they used to, and so we do a lot of confidence building because the stories still remain, right? Oh, yep, my dad was right. I'm not capable of XYZ, and that's not the truth. And so I help people cut through all that untruth, to get to their own truth, to hear their own voice, to get into that center of themselves that was never altered or touched, but it's just got covered over by the junk over the years.
Mhm. I see. I think about it in terms of having more quiet and opportunity, right? You said not
Mm-hmm.
distraction, and that can be intimidating for some people. They're like,
Absolutely.
"Oh, it's really quiet in here all of a sudden."
Absolutely. And that
Mhm.
that makes me recognize, right? So then we recognize I'm not so comfortable in this situation or that situation, and
Mhm.
I'm really afraid all the time, or I'm really angry all the time, and
Mm.
um, sitting with all of that, can be very intimidating.
Mhm. That's yeah, so there's this developmental stage, it sounds like, is right for
Hmm.
some of this work. Could you talk about something that you do that I think you're the only person I know, who works with ketamine and
Uh-huh.
ketamine assisted therapy, and I think people hear a little bit there, on the news or just, there's
Hmm.
taglines, but I'd love if you could just explain why it's helpful and why somebody might want to explore it.
Absolutely. So I'll start by saying that I utilize a sublingual preparation, and that means you put it in your mouth and swish it around. The medicine absorbs through your mouth and you spit it out. I don't do any IV or IM shots. So a different provider prescribes the medicine. They bring it into my office, and I hold space and support them while they're in the medicine. And the medicine has a psychedelic effect. So people go into a journey. And during that time, and what got me so excited about ketamine is that it helps us to face the scary things from a distance. So this is called a
Mm.
dissociative anesthetic. And ketamine is used in hospitals all over the world every day with babies as young as 6 months. It's very safe medicine. And in this dissociative episode, it's not like I don't know what's going on necessarily. It's that I'm separated from the intensity of my story so I can witness it and I can touch it from a safe distance, so that
Mhm.
all these things that I've been too afraid to be part of, to be in touch with, it feels doable. The pieces
So there's a
of there
detachment. Is that a
yes,
word that you okay.
yes,
Okay, so you're
yep,
stepping and you're observing more than being right in it.
right. And although there are physical effects, you are in a very altered state during the medicine, and so that allows for a level of safety in going to places that may be a little scary or overwhelming. Um, I've had so many different responses. Let me think. Well, one of the things about ketamine is that it does increase brain plasticity. So it puts the brain into an optimal learning place. And when we're
Mm.
in that place, and it lasts beyond the dosing time. So I try to meet with people in the next few days to do some deeper somatic work, because the brain is more open to it. The system is more open to something different. And I encourage people to do little tiny changes, like, use your non dominant hand to brush your teeth or go a different way to work. Do silly little changes so that when we ask the brain to make a bigger change, the brain's like, oh, I got this. Yeah, I was able to brush my teeth with my left hand, no problem. So we really sort of set the body and the brain up for change. And what I find is that when clients have gone through this, the work is easier. So the ketamine is a key, unlocks the door maybe. We need to open the door, go in, see what's there, and do the work. But it makes it doable, bearable, easier when the ketamine is part of the treatment.
What's it like
Yeah.
for you, Meg, being on the other side of this as a clinician, seeing
Mm-hmm.
people take these journeys?
It's such an honor. It is such an honor. I have a lot of training, and my clinical supervisor is actually an Indigenous woman, and so I have a lot of training about how Indigenous cultures use psychedelics. And so I bring that to my work. And so it's a very sacred ritual that I bring people through because I want to give it I don't know, I want to revere this, right? This is a substance that is helping people break open their psyches, right? So this is really,
Mhm.
it's sacred business. And so I feel such an honor to sit with people, and mostly people literally lay there with headphones and eye shades on, and they might cry a little bit or a lot of it. But more often than not, they sit there and I have no idea what's going on until they come out of it.
Mm.
And so it's a very internal experience with a curated playlist to sort of bring them on an arc of a journey, and some of them are more evocative than others. And I sort of choose the playlist based on where the client is on their treatment journey. I had a gentleman come out of a second ketamine session. He said, "Oh my gosh, is this what love feels like?" He
Mm.
hadn't been able to let love in from his wife or his kids, and it was
Mm.
just such a moment. And
Mhm.
I just felt so honored to bear witness. So many stories like this, Nicole.
Wow. Wow. Now we
Yeah.
live in a pretty small community. What's it like
Hmm.
when, and I know your clients aren't all from our town, but
Correct.
what
Yeah,
is it like? And people travel far distances to
they
see
do.
you, but what what is it like to run into someone at the grocery store who has just gone into this super deep, rather intimate journey?
Yes. 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 We talk about that beforehand. If there's someone who lives in town, or maybe their kids are in school with my kids, that I don't, I'll smile at them, but I won't acknowledge that I know them unless they come to me. Um,
Mhm.
and so, there have been a couple of weird moments where I've shown up at a party, or, been been at a concert and they're like right behind me or
Oh
something like
boy.
that. But we just kind of do our own thing, and I'm always assuring them that I'm not ignoring you. It's not because I don't care about you. I really respect your privacy and
Mhm.
your anonymity. So I just try to make that a sort of what I do in the beginning of every starting
Mm.
with a new client. Hmm.
That sounds really important. Hi, Zesties. Well, we all know that exercise is really important, especially as we age. Some say it's the most important thing you can do to stay healthy. But many of us find that it's really easy to start an exercise routine, but it's hard to keep it up. That's why we see so many exercise bikes and machines being used as clothes hangers come March. Am I the only one who has bought a gym membership that turned out to be a total waste of money? At this point in life, I want to do things that are good for me, but also fun. You'll never find me at a class called boot camp because life is hard enough. And that is why I love my rebounder. What is a rebounder? Well, it's a mini trampoline that has so many health benefits, it's kind of crazy. It turns out that gently jumping up and down provides excellent benefits to our whole body. It helps clear lymphatic drainage, which is basically toxic waste in our bodies. And get this, NASA uses it to help their astronauts reacclimate when they've been up in space. And I'm not even going to go into the improvements in complexion and mood. Let's just say it's hard to be in a bad mood when you're jumping to your favorite music. It's like your own dance party. But if you're interested in a rebounder, please take my advice. Don't buy a cheap one. They can actually be dangerous. I would recommend the one I have, which is a Needak rebounder. It's Needak, and mine's going on about 20 years old. I use it with light weights, and I've actually used it to train for the senior tennis games, as well as my Camino walk in Spain. And it's also great to use in upstate New York in the winter when the weather is awful, which is pretty often. So right now you can get a free rebounder cover at Needak if you use the coupon code ZESTFUL. So again, Needak, Needak. And if you have any questions, check out my YouTube demo. It's my most watched YouTube to date. So happy jumping, and I would love to hear how you like it. Now, one of the things that I've learned about you is you've been a therapist for a long time, but you've started doing some traveling and
Yes.
started going on adventures, and all of a sudden I can't keep up with you with your travels. All of a sudden you're here, you're there, another one, and I'm really wondering your development as a healer. What How does this all fit together? Going to Ireland, going to
Mhm. Puerto Rico,
Puerto
yeah.
Rico. Yes, I was just going to say
Mhm,
San Juan.
mhm.
Tell me how this all fits for you in terms of your role as a healer, but
Mhm,
also your
mhm.
development as now an older woman in your
Yes,
career. Um,
yes.
how's that all fitting together?
So for a long time, I did sort of the traditional, and I still have a fair amount of weekly clients where I see them for the regular therapy hour. Um, and what I was finding was that it doesn't work for everybody. You know, there's a segment of people that they just start to go deep at like 45 minutes, and it takes them that long to sort of warm up into the work. And so I started doing extended sessions where I would meet with someone for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and do a really big piece of intensive work, um, which moved the needle more than 4 weeks of 1 hour sessions would, because there's no like open up, close up, open up, close up. It's like you can
Oh,
just go in and sink. And so then I just and the changes that were happening for people, the transformations that were taking place were just so exciting. And I just feel so on fire when I'm in that space of that kind of depth. And so from there, I thought, well, gosh, what would this be like for a week? How could we, make this into where we're kind of cutting out of our lives for a week and doing that kind of depth of work. And I realized that it can't all be in that deep place, right? So I picked some
mhm.
locations where we could also do some adventuring, go to a natural water slide in the middle of the, rainforest, or visit sacred sites in Ireland, go for hikes, and really bring in the landscape of wherever we are, as a healing modality too, right? So nature heals as well.
Mhm.
And so that just became something, and people loved it. So I get to travel, I get to be in this intensive place where I love to live in that intensive place. And people's lives are changing. And I get to witness that. I get to, to some extent facilitate pieces of that and create a container. I will say that I've worked very, very, very hard in my career at creating a safe container, creating a safe space for people to do what they need to do, with a little prompting, a little suggestion here, a little guidance there, but really creating space for people to meet their inner healer, to sink into that, and to own their own healing.
Mhm. You know what I find interesting is that you were really responding to something outside of the box, right? I mean, you were saying,
Mhm.
okay, 45, 50 minutes, it's not
Not working for
really,
my clients.
it's not working
Mhm.
for your client. And it sounds like, I'm guessing, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but perhaps you not feeling as deeply satisfied as you could.
True. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying like I really love to see weekly clients, but I
Mm-hmm.
have to keep it to a minimum. Um, and there are some clients who dive right in. There are some clients that you would not believe what they can do in a 53-minute session. It's
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable,
Mm-hmm.
because they come ready to go, right?
Yes, yes.
Um, and there are other people who just take a little longer to warm up, or they're not into, some of my clients aren't interested in the somatic work. I offer it and they're like, nah, I don't want to do that today. Um, so when people sign up for an intensive, then I know that they know what they're getting into. They know what they're stepping into, and I
Mm-hmm.
think they get more out of it. I get more out of it. And some, I've had people come for every other month for a 4 hour intensive, rather than taking the time to go to weekly therapy. But they are still doing the work in between. They're still journaling, or they're still doing their nervous system
Okay.
exercises, or they're still, really attending to their internal parts. I do internal family systems work too. And so helping people to
Mhm.
recognize all the different aspects of themselves and really create relationship with themselves. Because what I try to really get people to take responsibility for is their own capacity to heal. I'm
Mhm.
not doing I'm not doing the healing. I'm shining a light, but they are doing the work.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. I see. So tell me a little bit about how you see things moving forward. Do you have any other ideas or plans to expand your practice? Because sounds like you've been getting really creative about, hey, I wonder if this would be a good idea,
yeah,
and then you started, well, maybe I'll try
yeah,
this, and I'll go back there, and I'm going to hire someone to help me, and we're going
yeah,
to,
yeah.
like, I can hear you really responding to your own creative urges. What do you see for your own future?
Yeah, so I love the retreat model and the intensive model. And I really feel like that's my future, that I'm going to be
Mm.
doing, you know, several retreats a year in different locations. Um, the Puerto Rico retreat I will do again in January of 2026, and that is a ketamine assisted psychotherapy retreat.
Okay.
Most of the other retreats are not going to be ketamine, but they're deep somatic work. A lot of ritual. I feel like culturally we've lost ritual, and really marking time and having. So I feel like really grouping women together and bringing them through some really transitional rituals. So if in Native American culture they're called blessing ways, and so this moment of like, okay, you're going through a divorce, let's ritualize that, right? Let's
Mm.
really bring you through in a really sacred way. This is a massive life transition, and marking it with beauty is important. So I could see
Wow.
that moving forward, those kinds of things. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that sounds lovely. There's a gentleman I interviewed by the name of Day Shilkret, and he's all about ritual and
Mm-hmm.
nature and exactly that we've just lost that.
We did.
There's no markings, there's no significant, oh, this is a significant moment. Let's pause and really
Yes.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the ones that are marked that have been so commercialized that it
Mm.
sort of saps it of all its sacredness. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I try to bring to the table. And I, at one point, had 8 therapists working for me, and as therapists leave to go out on their own, which is what I'm training them for, right? I'm giving them all that they need to do this on their own. I'm not rehiring right now, and I'm just really sort of wanting to go back to a slower, simpler model. And
Mhm.
I have two therapists that are with me right now, and I love working with them. And I'm not going to change that purposefully, but as they mature in their clinical skills, then undoubtedly they're going to want to go out on their own, and that's okay. I love that for them, and I'm just not feeling the need to refill those spots. My energy is moving in a different direction, and I heard you say the word creativity or creatively, and that's what I feel like is really sort of coming alive in me again. There was a long
Mhm.
time in my life where I did a lot of creative, artistic things, and I brought art into the therapy a lot. And I just haven't done, since COVID, I haven't done a lot creatively. So building these retreats and building these intensives, and I've even had a couple of people come for week-long individual retreats where I see them 4 hours a day for 5 days in a row. And
Wow.
that's been mind-blowingly amazing.
I'm so fascinated by your willingness to kind of go off what we all do, which is
Mm-hmm.
okay, there's a little variation. I tend to be a little more flexible than, how I was trained. It was quite a long
Mm-hmm.
time ago, but no, it's typically this. But you have just I love the way it really reflects who you are, and you use the term, what is it? Sets me on fire.
Yes.
Like you're really doing the work of paying attention to your own physiology and
Yes.
saying, what sets me on fire?
Yes.
And that's where I'm going.
Yes. Yes. And taking risks, right?
Yes.
And this is a maturity thing for me. I have not always been this way. It really has been growing into myself as a woman and as a business owner, as a mother, as a wife, like really owning my own space. And I haven't always done that, right? My own therapy has helped me with that. Really doing a lot of somatic work has helped me with that. And I'm feeling like I can take risks now and not feel shame
Mm.
if it doesn't work out. Like,
So
well, it
you
just didn't
have
work out.
So you have your own confidence that has been made more sturdy as you age,
Yes.
as you make decisions, as you say, this works, that doesn't work.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I've really taken out, like, it's not a moral issue if I make a business decision and it fails, right? So
Mhm.
it doesn't really say anything about who I am as a human being. It says that I took a risk and it didn't pan out. So whereas before in my life I would be so full of shame and oh my gosh, who's talking about me? And now it's none of my business. First of all, what other people think or say about me. Um, and I've also learned to not take things personally. Everybody's fighting their own battle. Everybody's doing their own life, and most of it has nothing to do with me. So I have stopped taking that stuff on, and it's been a huge relief in my 50s to be able to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, it's funny. This movement you may have seen on Facebook. This woman is doing the "We Just Don't Care," and
Yes,
she's so adorable and
I know.
hysterical and all this stuff. But I think there's something so resonant as we
Mm-hmm.
age, like you just don't care. I went out this morning and I have like a print bottom and a striped top, and it's like doesn't really match. Now I was just doing an errand. I'm like, you know what? I don't care. And I think
Who
that's one of
cares?
the gifts of aging where it just feels like you don't have the luxury to waste
Mm-hmm.
time caring what
Mm-hmm.
other
Right.
people are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's such a
Yeah. Yeah.
priority and such a preciousness about that's just not gonna make it on my important list.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's such a
Yep.
freedom in that.
Oh, yes, and it sounds like you're really enjoying that, your
I am.
freedom.
I do.
That's
I really
beautiful.
do.
So,
Yeah.
Meg, tell people, if you will, where they can find out more about your work and, some of these
Yeah.
somatic, therapies and and educate themselves on what else is available, because as we know, people are so struggling and suffering right now.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So my website is Breathing Space Psychotherapy. And
Okay.
that is also my Facebook and Instagram handle.
Okay.
And I also just wanted to mention, when you just said people are struggling right now, I did create like a 5-day nervous system reset course that is on my website. I think it's like $27, not that expensive, but it introduces people
Mhm.
to EFT tapping. So there's a tapping every
Love
single
it.
day, and then 2 additional nervous system exercises that you can incorporate into your days to really keep yourself from overflowing, like keep that cup from spilling over, and so that you can manage your emotions more effectively. Yeah, so that's how you can
Beautiful.
get in touch with me. And there's information there about ketamine and EFT tapping and brain spotting, and some of the other modalities that I use. There, we have a blog there, so some good information there. And I also have a monthly article or column in CNY Women Online.
Mhm.
So, and every month I give some nervous system tips and how to really sort of help manage anxiety and stress and overwhelm.
And am I correct in that there is a retreat coming up to Ireland? Is that full
You are
already?
you are so correct. No, we have a couple of spots left. We will
Okay.
be going to Ireland October 24th through November 3rd. We will be in the west of Ireland in the Sligo area, and we are
Mhm.
purposefully going over Halloween time. Over that time in traditional pagan and earth-based religions is called Samhain. And so we will be
Mm.
going very early in the morning, because there is a sacred site, cairn, where at sunrise on this day, the light shines perfectly into the center of the cairn. And we'll be going there and doing a ritual and really honoring of the earth. This will be a very earth-based trip, along with some deep emotional work, shadow work, right? Looking at the things that we don't really want to admit about ourselves, that we don't really want to look at. But it's a time to do that in a safe container with other women who are doing similar work. And we will be going to several different sacred sites, along with other really fun activities. The woman that I'm doing the retreat with, it has she makes these beautiful mandalas, and so we'll be doing group mandala creating. She's an
Mhm.
indigenous Irish woman, so she's really bringing that earth-based, ancient Celtic energy to the work. And
Mhm.
I feel very drawn to the land in Ireland. And so if you feel drawn to this, that is also on the website. Lots of information there. We'd love to have you.
Beautiful. Oh, I've heard such good things about how thoughtful this is, and
Mhm.
how lovely and just
Oh,
really deeply
yeah.
moving. So, Meg,
Yeah.
it is
Thank
such
you.
an honor and pleasure to be able to spend time with you today, and I'm so excited for all the good stuff that's happening and blooming and
Thank
flourishing.
you.
Uh,
Oh, thank you, Nicole.
Thanks so much for spending time.
I appreciate you having me so much.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends.
Our theme song is All I Did Was Wait for You by Kjartan Abel. Visit Kjartan-Abel, that's KJARTAN-Abel, ABEL.com, to hear more of Kjartan's work. And our technical director is Stephen Litweiler.
And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest. See you then.